What is good? Let's not fuck around. Let's get directly to it. It's time for some Dungeon World. This is my campaign. I'm running it. It's called the Saga of Broken Blades. It's Viking themed. Today is episode 0. Means we're going to create some characters. Play out a scene. Hope you're doing well. Glad you're here. Appreciate y'all hanging out. No O show yesterday. I meant to play some Divinity, but Saturdays are my recovery day from working out usually. I was just a little too worn out. So I played Civ with Bean instead. I have some African Polish going in our hot seat game, which is pretty hilarious. My Polish people have been living only on bananas in the rainforest of Africa. Get to it. Alright, how do I want to set this up here? I think I know. They'll need to give me just a moment here. Nice. That's what I needed to do, actually. I know what I can do. I can do this. Yes, yeah. Alright, that'll work fine. Beautiful. That's Craig Miller. Speaking of Miller, howdy y'all.
Hello.
What's good?
Hello.
Now, I'm gonna ask Sabatum this specifically because he is clearly here. Are we good to go with the music balance behind me? I think it's pretty well balanced, but only you can tell me for sure. Let me get this happening. Nice. Now it's time to relax and brew up some motherfucking Dungeon World characters. Let me pass out some character sheets here. You're all in the Roll20 now. Okay. Everyone has a character. What up, base? Beautiful, Saban. So now that you all have character sheets, the way we're gonna do it today is pretty slothful, because I wanted to wind up being a resource for people that are learning the game too, since it'll exist in video format here. So I'll be leading us through these character creation steps one by one so that you can understand them if you're new to the game and that sort of thing. But we won't drag on forever either, because all the players are pretty familiar with the rules. So the first step is to choose a class when you're rolling up a Dungeon World character. The classes in Dungeon World are essentially a collection of moves. That'll make more sense in just a bit. And in Dungeon World, it's a very traditional fantasy setup. So you got fighters and paladins and clerics, but the classes are very easy to make. So there's a lot of fan-made classes out there, which are all really good. We'll be keeping it pretty simple with the Saga of Broken Blades. It's Viking themed, so while that won't really change the rules at all, that will kind of change what the classes maybe look like in your mind, right? The players have actually already chosen their classes. So, Beam, what class did you pick?
I'm going to be a paladin.
Alright. Now, to get hyped up, as I pull up Paladin here, would you like to read? If you go to the Paladin class at the top there's a little passage about the Paladin.
Mm-hmm.
Begins with Hell awaits.
An eternity of torment in fire or ice, or whatever best suits the sins of the damned. I'm a terrible reader out loud, sorry. Throngs of Dungeon World. Stands between the pits of that grim torture and salvation is you. An armored war machine, Templar of the good and the light, right? Say his prayers at night to the gods dwelling in their heavens. Wield his sharp sword in the name of good, but you know. Eyes, hands, and sweet killing blow of the gods you are. Yours is the gift of righteousness and virtue, of justice, vision too, a purity of intent that your companions do not have. Guide these fools, Paladin. Take up your holy cause and bring salvation to the Wastral world.
I'm glad you read that, because you need to turn your noise gate down just a bit. The other thing you might be interested in doing is moving closer to the router, since you're on Wi-Fi. I think that's why your voice quality kind of bugs out, because our router is pretty poopy. So I don't know if you want to like sit in the kitchen or something. That's Paladin. And each class in Dungeon World has a little hype up section like that. But why don't we have Zeus read the one for fighter?
You didn't even ask me what class I wanted to play. Jeez.
I already knew.
Well, I'm a fighter, and it's a thankless job, living day by your armor and the skill of your arm. To dive heedlessly into danger. They won't be playing golden horns for the time you took that knife in the ribs for them in the bar in Bucksburg. No flock of angels to sing the time you drag them still screaming from the pits of madness. No, forget them. You do this for the guts and glory, the scream of battle and the hot, hot blood of it. You are a beast of iron. Your friends may carry blade of forged steel, but fighter, you are steel. While your traveling companions might moan about their wounds over a campfire in the wilderness, you bear your scars with pride. You are the wall. Let every danger smash itself to nothing on you. In the end, you will be the last one standing.
Yes. And then we'll have Lewis. You've settled on Bard, right?
Yeah, I think I'll. Although to be honest, after hearing a lot of these hype up passages and thinking, did I choose the right one?
You can change your mind right now.
No, I've got to commit to this, but let's go ahead. So, the poems say an adventurer's life is all open roads and the glory of coin and combat. The tales told in every farmhand-filled inn have to have some ring of truth to them, don't they? The songs to inspire peasantry and royals alike, to soothe the savage beast or drive men to a frenzy, have to come from somewhere. Enter the bard, you with your smooth tongue and quick wit, you teller of tales and singer of songs. It takes a mere minstrel to retell a thing, but a true bard to live it. Strap on your boots, noble orator, sharpen that hidden dagger and take up the call. Someone's got to be there, fighting shoulder to shoulder with the goons and the thugs and the soon-to-be heroes. Who better than you to write the tale of your own heroism? Nobody. Get going.
Bards in Viking culture were also called skalds. Lewis is broadcasting from a cathedral. All English people live inside cathedrals.
It's true.
So you would not call him a barbarian?
I wish I had like a
I'll see myself out.
like a wah 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 that I could just make happen. I also want to point out that Lewis actually has drawn many of the beautiful pieces of art that you've seen with your eyes, and is a rare treat. I'm glad that Lewis is here. And then we got Miller.
I see. All right. I choose to play Ranger. These city-born folk you travel with, have they heard the call of the wolf? Felt the winds howl in the bleak deserts of the east? Have they hunted their prey with bow and knife like you? Hell no. That's why they need you. Guide, hunter, creature of the wilds. You are these beings and more. Your time in the wilderness may have been solitary until now, but the call of some greater thing, call it fate if you like, has cast you in the lot with these folk. Brave they may be, powerful and strong too. You know the secrets of the spaces between, though. Without you, they'd be lost. Blaze a trail through the blood and the dark, Strider.
Yes! So we have a paladin, a fighter, a bard, and a ranger. That's actually a quite Viking party already. So that was pretty simple. Step 1, choose a class. Boom. No one wanted the same class. Otherwise, they would have had to wrestle for it. And whoever gave up first get the class. The next step is to pick a race. Some classes have multiple races you can choose from. And in Dungeon World, your race simply gives you a special move. That's it. You just get a special move based off your race. So, starting with Bean and her paladin. Can paladins be a certain race?
Paladins can only be humans.
Do you get a racial move? Anyway?
Yes. When you pray for guidance, even for a moment, and ask what here is evil, the GM will tell you honestly.
Nice. So Beans...
By the way, does
Go
my
ahead.
mic sound better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So Bean's paladin, when she prays for guidance and asks what here is evil, I, the dungeon master, have to tell her honestly. That is her racial move. What about your character, your fighter, Zeus?
Fighter is a human. And his racial move is that once per battle, I may re-roll a single damage roll, yours or someone else's.
Now that's pretty cool. So you can once per battle, so that's kind of like once per encounter. This can go down multiple times per session. Zeus can either re-roll one of his damage rolls or someone else's. Now, Dungeon World encourages you to stretch your mind. So you jump to immediately when you read that, you jump to, oh, if my buddy rolls shitty, I could fix that. What if an enemy rolls extremely well against you? You could re-roll their damage roll. So that's a pretty cool ability, huh? So we have a human paladin, a human fighter. Lewis, what about your bard?
I think I'm going to surprise everyone, and I'm going to go for a human bard.
Whoa.
Which means that I get the which means that I get the move. When you first enter a civilized settlement, somebody who respects the custom of hospitality to minstrels will take you in as their guest.
Now that's
a pleasant move.
That is. And it ties in well with the Viking setting because respect to storytellers is important and so. Now, will the person respecting the custom of hospitality necessarily want to respect your heavily armed companions? That'll be time will only tell on that one. What up, Jerry Globe? What up, everybody chilling? Milski.
I'm not going to break the status quo. I'm also going a human ranger.
I'm stealing Lewis's class. I'm taking his bard. Human ranger.
I was so enticed.
He made it sound so good, right? What is the human ranger racial move?
When I make camp in a dungeon or city, I don't need to consume a ration.
Also quite handy. Now, something I want to point out here, since I'm trying to make this instructional for posterity, is in Dungeon World, when you're traveling, distance is measured in food. So, like, this is X number of rations away, essentially. So the ability to not have to spend rations whenever you're making camp not traveling is very good, because you can save your food for traveling around. Sabatum is curious, which Norse god do Viking paladins pray to? You know, we'll get to that, but the spoiler is, I think she mentioned being interested in Tyr. So the next step of character creation here is going to be to choose a name. Very simple but very powerful part of character creation. Now, each class has a list of names that you can choose from if you just want to pick one off that, or you're more than welcome to come up with your own. Or if one of the ones on the list inspires one, change it a little bit, whatever works. Looks like Bean has named her paladin. What's your paladin's name?
Edda.
Just Edda?
Well, I read that Viking book that you linked us to, and it mentioned that Vikings didn't have last names.
That's correct. They usually had... It's very Native American almost. They would often have names based off of some shit they'd done, or maybe someone that they're related to, or in your case, an aspect of them.
Yeah, so my character is Edda the Fair.
So she's hot.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at the picture you've chosen for her, and I have to concede. She's got the red hair. Is that why everyone's after her?
Mm-hmm.
See. So, in like the more crass inns and drinking holes, they might call her like Etta Firecrotch, maybe. What would she do if she heard someone do that?
Should probably slap a bitch.
Just slap them? Wow. He's kind. Maybe the fair is her judgment, right? Maybe she's not good looking at all.
Well, I guess you'll find out.
I was gonna say, it's pretty bold to call her Etta the Fair before we figured out what her charisma is. Alright. Looks like Zeus has a name here, right?
Bruce Jotunsen.
Oh, that's good. Bruise, huh? Excellent.
Yeah.
So, he's the son of Jotun. Is
Indeed.
Jotun a son of a bitch? Is he an outlaw? Is he landed?
Yeah, man. I haven't thought of what Jotun is.
Well, think about him a little bit, because you're his son. So you carry that burden around with you wherever you go. Ed of the Fair, Bruce Jotunsen. What we got for the bard, Lewis?
I was thinking, going through the list of Viking names here, I like the name Sigmund. I like the name Grim, so I think Sigmund Grimson just has like a nice cadence.
Ooh, that does have a good, yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, I
So
think
it seems
Joe.
like a very,
Briefly, before I forget, I think Jotun, Sabatum is right, means giant. That could be related. Maybe he's a tall son of a bitch. I like Sigmund Grimson too. It has a good, especially if you're like trying to get your name out there as a storyteller. You want something that, you know.
It's catchy. It's pithy, you know.
But again, you should think about the legacy of Grim, your father, that you carry around. Ponder that as we go through character creation here. And that's why I like to do character creation slow, methodically, step by step, because, and I suck Sage Latour's dick a lot, the dude who wrote Dungeon World, but I think he's a fucking genius. He's written it such a way that a lot of the way you do things is part of doing them. That makes sense. Like doing something slowly sometimes when you're like, this doesn't seem to be the most efficient way, there's a purpose that's revealed when you actually do it the way it's intended, if that makes sense. So it get, like, for instance, they're getting time to think about aspects of their character as we go through, might inspire future decisions, you know. Miller, what name did we pick for the ranger?
Oscar Skafgard. I combined a couple of interesting either Danish or Scandinavian names to come up with that.
So Skavgard. Now, if you're like reading that in, that would mean what? Guards of the Skav?
And a dweller of a farm near the woods.
Is that Skavgard?
That is Skafgard.
Nice. So in that case, that would mean like a rural boy, huh?
Uh-huh. And Oscar is Spear of the God.
But you don't have a family name necessarily, so you're not proud necessarily of where you come from, at least to wear it as a name. Instead, you chose a name that described your wilderness dwelling ways, which are apparently more important to you, right?
Yes, that is.
A lot in a name in Viking culture. Excellent. So the next step here is choosing look. This is a really cool aspect of Dungeon World. Each character has a look, and it's essentially just a collection of 3 or 4 words that when you read them together, just conjures that image of the character in your head. Now, this is a situation again where you simply select one of several options for each of the words. But if you're going through there and you think of one that you really like to use that's not on the list, open to hearing it. So if you wanted, you had a wizard, let's say, and instead of haunted eyes or sharp eyes or crazy eyes, you wanted to have whited over eyes, like full glaucoma. I'd like, yeah, sure. But if it's something stupid, nah. If you wanted to be like, I want my wizard to be cross-eyed, I have cross eyes a lot of the time, and I can't cast any spells, so I would rule that one out. It would trigger me, and I would have to file you at the Social Justice Bureau immediately. Anyway, Bean.
Yes.
What look did you pick here?
Edda the Fair has fiery eyes to go with that fiery hair. Styled hair. A fit body. And wears a worn holy symbol.
She wears a worn holy symbol, huh? Based to be fair, my cross-eyed wizard thing, I did immediately think of a wizard, like, roasting the party with a fireball, and then they turn around and look at him, and he's, like, cross-eyed. He's like, my bad.
If you did have a cross-eyed wizard who was really bad at casting spells, you could just blame it on his poor vision why he keeps missing.
Like, I can't see. Tell me about this holy symbol. The fiery eyes, the styled hair, the fit body. This I can all imagine easily, even just from the picture you posted. But tell me about this holy symbol.
Edda venerates the god Tyr, whose holy symbol is a sword. And she wears like a bit of like a necklace crafted into the shape of like a small sword that's worn around her neck.
What's it made out of? It's worn, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
well, just think about it for a second while I read something. Tyr is the god of the sword and courage, and watches over battles with as much interest as Odin himself. He's also the godly law enforcer, using his impressive swordsmanship to uphold order. Tyr has only one hand, for he lost the other in the service of his fellow gods. The mighty Fenris wolf was savaging much of Asgard, and the gods were unable to stop him, until the dwarves forged a golden leash capable of holding the beast. The gods bet the wolf that he could not break the leash. The suspicious wolf would not agree to the contest, unless one of the gods put a hand in his mouth to guarantee his release if the leash could not be broken. The fearless Tyr complied without hesitation and lost his hand when the wolf realized he was trapped. Tyr has the power to see invisible objects and to recognize any thief within his sight. In his true form, he is a bearded, fierce-looking warrior missing one hand. And then under the role-playing notes, it mentions as the god of swords, Tyr watches over the Valkyries. So a female paladin of Tyr is really good. And makes sure that they bring only the most valiant of mortal heroes to Valhalla. He's also the patron of courageous warriors. Tyr's priests are usually the kingdom's law enforcement officers. You feel me?
Oh, I feel you.
Do you have... So your necklace is made out of what material? Because it's worn. Is it like a little wooden sword, or is it like a little...
No, it's a little steel sword.
Because
but
steel is hard to come by.
Hmm.
Just keep that in mind.
I just don't imagine that a little wooden sword would fare well in battle.
You'd be surprised. I mean, it's just for swag, you know what I mean?
I know.
That's whatever you
The
want.
strength of the gods behind it.
Yeah.
This is true.
We'll think about it. But we know it's a symbol of Tyr, a blade. Bruce, what look are you going for?
Bruce has hard eyes, wild hair, scarred skin, and a lithe body.
Also quite fitting with the picture you have. Now tell me what anime shit that is. Is that a character from what anime?
Pathfinder.
Like the D&D Pathfinder?
Yeah, it came up on Pinterest under Pathfinder.
That's pretty cool. It looks like it could be like from a manga or something.
I know, right?
Pretty straightforward. What look are we going for with Sigmund the Bard?
Well, knowing eyes, wild hair, poor clothes, and a thin body. Basically, a very kind of wiry, homeless, chic aesthetic, which I think is represented with the picture that I've chosen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of like a very, the kind of, I don't know, face and appearance of somebody who is like older than their years and just like a little bit bitter. And I feel like the name Grimson is also like, that could only be a very like nasty, kind of drowned rat kind of looking guy. So
He's like a storyteller that rides the edge of propriety. Like they'd kick him out of the village if it wasn't for the fact that he was entertaining.
yeah, and it's something that he's seen every time over. Like he's been asked to leave. He's the kind of guy that's been asked to leave a lot of places quite a lot. That's a little bit, so there we go.
But he always finds someone who is a groupie enough to let him stay. Very
Who
good.
respects hospitality. That's me.
And then what look are we going for with Oscar the Ranger?
He has sharp eyes. He's bald. He wears camouflage, or he wears traveling clothes, and he has a wild body.
So he's bald. Is that by choice or by the curse of the gods?
Let's find out.
I'm a little more interested in what a wild body looks like.
That's the next question.
He's very scarred, scratched, battle worn.
It looks like
Not
he's
very
constantly come out of some brambles. Got twigs and shit.
He just has antlers.
Does he shave his head?
Yes, he does that to keep from getting stuff tangled in his hair, more or less.
So he's like a
bald by choice.
hardcore survivalist. Shaving his head, and what about his beard?
Viking can never shave his beard.
Let's see. Does he like tie it down though? Got it braided, tucked away.
He's got it braided, yes, and tucked in his shirt.
Exactly. Alright, I'm feeling that. So, the look section, you get a little deeper image of the character in your mind. So we're moving on to the fifth step here, which is choosing stats. Now this is pretty easy. You don't roll your stats in Dungeon World. You have an array that you just assign So what y'all should do is go through your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and assign. I'll paste them in here. These stats. So you begin with a 16, a 15, a 13, a 12, a 9, and an 8. And those are going to have modifiers depending on the stat. Let me see how well this copies. Boom. So there are the modifiers for the different scores. And you're just going to... Now, why is that important? What should you be paying attention to here? Well, when you're assigning your stats as a Dungeon World player, it's wise to take a look at your moves and see what stats you're going to be using with them. Like, for instance, I go to my wizard example here, since nobody's playing a wizard. And if you take a look, when I'm casting a spell as a wizard, it uses my intelligence. So if I want to be good at that, I would be wise to put a high score into intelligence. Moreover, if I go over here and take a look at the moves themselves, there they are. These are moves, basic moves, that everyone can do. For instance, hack and slash is based off your strength. Volley, which is aimed attacking, ranged attacking, is based off your dexterity. Defending is based off your constitution. Spouting lore is based off intelligence. Discerning realities is based off wisdom. So by looking through, by determining what things you want your character to be good at necessarily, you can decide what stats you want to assign to which abilities. You had to put the 16 in charisma with Edda the Fair, huh?
Of course.
Bruce is not the smartest cookie. Neither is Edda. They both have 8 intelligence. Bruce is stronger than Edda and more agile. She's a little bit more wise and way more pretty. But they're both not the sharpest tools out there. Oscar's weaker than both of them, but more agile. Constitution, he's not as quite as sturdy, much smarter. About the same amount of wisdom, and yeah. Oscar and Bruce are very much homely, you could call them. And Edda is fair. The Sigmund's the weakest party member. Decent agility. Constitution is, I think, the lowest in the party. But nothing bad. Just average. Sigmund and Oscar are the brains behind the operation for sure. They both have 15 intelligence. Is Sigmund the most wise?
Wise beyond his years.
Edda's wise as well. That's good. Quite good. And then, ooh, Sigmund, 16 charisma. We have some lookers. We have some forces of will here. The tanks are dumb. Unsurprisingly. But it was cool to see a high intelligence on both the Bard and the Ranger. Nice. So that's pretty easy to assign. No rolling involved. You just do it. Bean, is your character's name a reference to the Eddas, or are you gonna now say that they were a reference to that?
I don't know what the edits are, so I can't say it was a reference to it.
Maybe it was
It was-
a cult reference. You didn't even realize you were doing it.
Probably. I just liked the name Ed. I just picked it off the list of female Viking names. Now you have to tell me what the Eddas are, though.
They are a series of prose poems that probably the best collection is this book called the Sagas of the Icelanders. It's like the mythic, like Greek mythology and all that, Roman mythology.
Mhm.
It's like Norse mythology, basically. I'm smoking a little Edda real quick, forgive me. So our next step here is to figure out modifiers. You already did it. It's weird that that's 2 moves. Oh, they were histories, you're right. They're about the actual explorers and shit. I don't know what the myths were called. The next step, step 7, is to set your maximum HP. Pretty simple. Your class has a base HP. And then you just add your entire constitution score. Does that make sense? And that'll be your starting HP. So for instance, for those trying to learn, if I go over here to wizard, let's say my wizard had a 9 constitution. I would go in here and look at your maximum HP is 4 plus, and then my constitution is 9, so that would be 9 plus 4, that would be 13. Feel me? Y'all are good to go there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where it says class, by the way, on these sheets, you can actually click it and type in there. Aha. So step 8 is where you choose your starting moves, and that's very deceptive here. What that really means is that each character has an array of starting moves. These are moves that your character starts with. And for instance, I'm looking at fighter right here. Bend bars, lift gates. That's a move. Armored. Technically a move. However, signature weapon, this move, has some choices attached with it. He's got to choose from these options here, these options here. So now is the time you look through your starting moves and see if there are any choices you have to make in conjunction with those moves. Do you have any choices to make for Edda?
Well, paladins can pick a quest, but do I necessarily need to pick a quest now, or is that something I can pick once we get going and there's a little bit more for me to decide?
Yeah, you don't need to just begin play with your quest already. In fact, it's usually better to pick it after the first couple sessions. But you could if you wanted to. I know that Bruce has some choices here, right?
For my signature weapon.
Yeah, could you tell me about your signature weapon?
My signature weapon is a sword named Hringir.
Hringir!
It is close and reach because I have taken versatile, which means I can take an extra tag. It is also sharp, which gives it +2 piercing.
Alright.
And it has an ornate appearance.
Let me pull this up so I can look at the choices. So, Hringir is a sword that belongs to Bruce Jotunsen. He chose close, which is the range you can imagine, especially if you compare it to hand or reach. He took these two enhancements. He took versatile, which means he can choose an additional range. So he also chose reach, meaning that. Describe that to me.
It's useful for attacking something that's several feet away, maybe as far as 10.
So describe that to me as far as Hringir goes. What happens? Are you able to throw it?
I would think you could throw it and it could come
Well,
back to him.
you tell me.
Mjolnir
You are Bruce Jotunsen, wielder of Hringir. So you tell me what happens.
When he throws it will return to him because the sword is always destined to be in the Jotunsen line since it's an ancestral sword.
So you're telling me that if you can throw that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now, as far as stats, it's just a hack and slash with reach, but
right.
That's pretty fucking cool to have. Yeah, I like that, and I like the explanation for why it does that. So the +2 piercing, that means that it does +2 damage that is piercing.
When you deal damage with 2 piercing, you subtract 2 from the enemy's armor for that attack.
I see. So it pierces 2 armor, basically. Got it.
Right.
Very cool. And then you said you chose ornate, which of course it's an ancient Jotunsen family heirloom. Maybe the fucking giants made it for you. And in your ancient ancestral history, and you've been passing it down since, the fucking frost giants that you're descended from. What about that? What up, Artie? We are playing Dungeon World today. It is episode 0 of my campaign, the Saga of Broken Blades. It's Viking themed. And Sabatum, I was trying. See, I knew you'd want to join. Sabatum is in and out here. Sabatum is Finnish. So, I mean, if we had a Finnish accent as well as an English accent, dude, that's like tabletop magic right there. You should join Sabatum. I mean, I don't think you can today, but you can. It's very easy to write people into Dungeon World, so I would be happy to do that for you if you're interested in joining some sessions down the road, because this campaign is the only campaign I'm fucking running this year. That has an asterisk, but we're gonna like get the characters all through a full progression, actually play some fucking Dungeon World, many sessions. Maybe that's it I'm running all year, but if we actually get enough progression where I'm happy, I might bust out some of these other ideas. But
do we really want Sabatum to play with us? I mean, he'll just get naked and try to kill us all if RimWorld's anything to go by.
That's true. That is that is a curse. If you name a character Sabatum in RimWorld, they will get naked and go on a murder rampage, no matter the conditions, no matter what you do for them. Alright, I really like that signature weapon. That's badass. Now, yeah, I'll do that.
I think I might be switching my wisdom and int stats.
So you're gonna go 8 wisdom, 12 intelligence?
Yeah.
That I can see that making more sense because you would be more impulsive due to your giant blood, but you wouldn't be stupid. Did you have any choices to make for Bard? Oh yeah, I believe that you do, huh?
Yeah, let me just see here. So,
Bardic lore is what it was, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so the choice here is my area of expertise. So thinking about my character more broadly, I've decided that this bard is basically just kind of a disappointment to his family, which is like a very academic, respected historian family, and I've kind of perverted it by deciding to be a bard and like trying to become a historian in that way. So I've kind of inherited my family's understanding of the grand histories of the known world. So that's the one that I've chosen. So basically just the idea of like, this is knowledge that my family would have known, and I've basically tried to take it into my own life and my career as
And
well.
preserve it. Keep it from being lost.
Although, yeah, not necessarily in accordance with my family wishes. So I'm sort of doing my own thing as kind of like Castaway, but taking my family's knowledge with me.
So you're a skald with a more historian bent.
Yeah.
So you're more apt to tell tales of true things, or mostly true things. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Was there I think there's a ranger choice too, huh? Is there?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, your
I had to choose my
animal companion. Oh, that's
what
a
I've
huge
been doing this whole
choice.
time here.
Yeah. Are you still
Don't
thinking
worry, I
about
got it all picked out.
Oh, you got it picked? You're good?
Yeah, I
Alright,
was just moving on.
Tell me of Oscar Skovgard's faithful companion.
It's in my character little description, so you can read along with me.
Oh, actually, I'm just going to have the rules up so I can demonstrate the choices.
Ah, gotcha. All right. Animal companion. You have a supernatural connection with a loyal animal. You can talk to it per se, but it always acts as you wish it to. Your animal companion is trained to fight humanoids. Okay, and then all my choices here. It is also trained to fight monsters. And my animal companion is Volan the wolf.
All right. So he chose wolf, Volan, you said?
Volan, yes.
Volan the wolf is Oscar Skovgard's faithful companion, and then you chose it comes trained to fight humanoids. He gets to pick one more training, or he gets actually to choose as many additional trainings as its cunning. So which cunning did you pick, one or two?
I chose the last set.
The last set? Alright, so you have one cunning, so you only got to pick one of those, and you chose fight monsters. So your wolf will fight humanoids and monsters. What strengths did you choose for
Volan is
Volan.
fast, intimidating, and he has keen senses.
The Volan the wolf is fast, intimidating, and has keen senses. And then in what ways is Volan weak?
He is most savage and frightening to other people.
Yes. So why is that? Why is he frightening? Is he particularly large, or is he
He's
smell bad?
He's a tamed, but not quite tamed alpha wolf of the pack.
Ooh. So sometimes you lose control of Volan, huh? Is what you're telling me.
Volan gives in, yeah, sometimes.
The next step in our character creation here, now that we've made choices, is to choose alignment. And for anyone who might be confused, today is episode 0, so we're creating our characters, which in Dungeon World is like an interactive step-by-step process. Then we're going to talk about the characters in the world a bit, another part of Dungeon World. Then we're going to do a little intermission so I can think and come up with the scene. Then we're going to play out like one scene, a little bit like a teaser if it was a TV show. But it's the way you're supposed to do the first session in particular of a Dungeon World game. And in future sessions I'll explain why, because I'm also using this campaign as an opportunity to have some recorded shit where I'm explaining how to play for people that are trying to learn it. Step 9, we're choosing alignment here. Alignment's very, very important. So one of the ways you can earn experience points in this game is through your alignment. One of the very few ways you can earn experience points. So choosing an alignment that you're going to be able to successfully roleplay consistently is important. Start with Edda the Fair. The law of the land. You're playing a cop, Bean.
I am.
I like that. I think our opening scene may be related to them. Artie, I think most Irish people have a little bit of Norwegian in them, if you know what I mean. Called Lindisfarne. I mean, the Vikings had such a fucking overrun of Europe for a while that there was a thing called the Danegeld, which was essentially mafia protection money the other countries paid to the Danish to leave them alone. Alright. Who am I? Where are we? We're doing alignment.
I'm a lawful paladin, which means that I gain experience when I deny mercy to a criminal or unbeliever.
Oh my god, that ties into the scene so perfectly. So, being is lawful, not good. Lawful. Meaning that, yeah, whatever. It's close enough, mate. Okay? I just meant that Lindisfarne was the entry point. That was the first place that they showed up to
That didn't make.
the breed.
I had to jump over to chat because that didn't make any sense.
The breed.
Lawful is yeah, whatever.
They hit. Look. Sorry. Lawful means that each session, okay, this is how the alignment experience points works. Each session, you need to find an opportunity, and it's on the player. Not for me as the dungeon master to parade criminals out, though I will kind of probably do that today with today's scene. You're looking to build an opportunity each session to deny mercy to a criminal or unbeliever as the player in order to get an opportunity to get some experience points. That's badass. Now, Bruce Jotundsen. What alignment have you selected, sir?
Bruce is neutral, and he must defeat a worthy opponent to gain experience.
So again, each session, one of the things that Bruce is trying to do is look for a worthy opponent to defeat. Base, you should send me a map of England so I can learn these things. Alright? I can study, I can put it in the bathroom and look at it when I take a shit. Alright? It's a good time to think about England. I love you, Lewis. I'm just joking. Lewis is like, I don't care. I fucking went to Scotland. I'm out of here. What alignment have you selected for Sigmund? Are you still debating?
No, I decided that Sigmund is essentially a coward. So it's between neutral and chaotic. I think I'm going to go for neutral because chaotic would spur others to significant and unplanned decisive action. That seems like something like you'd have to inspire somebody to do that, and I'm not necessarily thinking of this as a very inspirational character. So I think it's just more of a kind of.
So I want to just comment real quick. You mentioned a non-inspirational bard. So you're telling me that his histories are so good that he's almost
Just
like
dictating a book.
he's like annoyed that he even has to do it. He's like sitting there with a drink, like, all right, let me tell you fucking people this excellent history, like that you're not even worthy of hearing. And then
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of knowledge where it's coming from a snob, so somebody who basically is a know-it-all, but isn't necessarily doing it to like flavor people's experiences. It's just somebody who thinks that they know everything. So is knowledgeable technically, but not necessarily in a way that's actually designed to be helpful. So I think neutral is probably best because it's somebody who, you know, isn't there to kind of rally people on. It's kind of to be like, well, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to get my hands dirty in this. I'm just going to.
And then, because essentially, they told you that if you play the room, you can stay for free. And then when you're told that that meant in the stable, you'll avoid the guy. You'll be like, oh, that's fine. And go sleep in the stable and get your XP.
Plus 1 XP.
Yeah. It builds character. They weren't lying.
All I see is XP in that stable over there.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, that's me.
So we got lawful and then 2 neutrals so far. Looks like we're gonna have another neutral here with Oscar, right?
Indeed, I am.
Alright, tell me
My
about
neutral alignment
Ranger neutrality.
is to help an animal or spirit of the wild. Something plain and simple that I can set out to achieve.
So just like the bard is looking for opportunities to avoid conflict or diffuse tense situations, the ranger is seeking out animals and spirits of the wild each session at least one time to help. And that's another important thing. It's just one time. So it's not a situation where as a player you could come in here and try to farm your alignment essentially. At the end of the session, you check. Did you do it at some point or did you not? So you're looking for one good instance, a good scene, the spotlight on your character doing that at some point. And you're going to want to mix it up because if Miller is getting Oscar to help an animal or spirit of the wild every session if he's trying to maximize his XP, he's going to want to do that in unique ways, it not to be, well, it's time for Miller to go look for a squirrel.
Save that squirrel.
Yeah,
Hey.
exactly. Cool. So those are alignment. We got lawful and then 3 neutral. That's I like that because the party, like, you never really know exactly how they're gonna fall on a conflict, except for that Edda the Fair will be merciless as fuck. You do know that.
Proper Vikings.
So once we've got our alignment dialed in, the next step is to choose gear. Now, how that works is, again, if you take a look at your class, at the bottom here, you're going to see gear that you choose from. First, it'll tell you your load. That's how much you can carry. It's going to be a number plus your strength score. And then, for instance, Wizard here begins with a spell book and some dungeon rations. They get to pick from these 2 options here, they get to pick from these 2 options here, and then they get to pick from these 2 options here. So your gear is essentially a series of choices. But don't forget to record your load. Sounds very sexy every time you say it. And how much shit you're carrying as well. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to look at the gear you're picking. So Ed of the Fair is wearing scale armor. He works with a long sword and shield. Bruce has Hringir, wearing chainmail. He works a shield too. Got some antitoxin, eh? This adventuring gear is a great item in Dungeon World. How it works is, whenever you need like some rope or a random piece of shit, you know, some random bullshit, you can use adventuring gear, and it essentially uses up a use of it for you to have that particular item. Nice, so poultices and herbs are actually a usable heal. Holy shit. That's
I
good.
also like bag of books, because you just get a book.
Yeah.
That's 2 uses for poultices and herbs.
Oscar's got a bow, obviously a hunter's bow. What does this bow look like? Is it like some shit that he made from the woods, or is it like well crafted, an heirloom, or what? Same with his spear as well.
His spear is something that he crafts and takes along with him as something as a more of a convenience type of item as a weapon.
So he's got like an arc spear.
Pretty close, yes.
What about the bow? Kind of similar. So he's always just essentially, when his shit starts to wear out, he's like, all right, time to make another fucking.
His bow is his prized possession. That is something that he's taken a good amount of time to craft himself. So yes, it is something that is made, but it's something he put a lot of time into.
Nice. Now I will say this: steel is obviously somewhat rare. So, for instance, Edda, people will be looking at things like your longsword. You probably have a wood round shield, Viking style.
Yeah.
But your scale, these things will be looked at jealously. Bruce, your chainmail, your Hringir, absolutely. All these things will be jealously looked at. I'm so happy that you chose Halfling Pipe Leaf too. Do you guys know that marijuana is in this game? Alright, it's not called marijuana. It is called Halfling Pipe Leaf. Let me read this out to y'all. You tell me if this is marijuana. When you share some Halfling Pipe Leaf with someone, expend 2 uses and take +1 forward to parlay with them. Makes it easier to parlay with people.
Does it also increase your rolls on opening your mind to the psychic maelstrom?
See? Already thinking of the next game. Though I will say that Adarisk is... I have a feeling that as long as we stick with it, we'll probably progress all the way through a Dungeon World progression. And I mean to get your characters to retirement, basically. Is not going to be the whole year, but be like probably 6 months. At least. And after that, I would be willing to run another game. And I want to do Zombie Apocalypse World. That's neither here nor there. You good on gear, Master Lewis?
Yeah, I think I'm good. What have I got here? A fiddle never before played. I like that as a choice.
I love that too. So is he ever gonna play it? That's one of the things we'll be waiting to find out, right?
Well, the thing with that is because I think a fiddle is kind of considered to be quite a complicated instrument. I think, in keeping with my character's personality of being like quite aloof and like snobbish, he'd like to be seen to be playing something that's quite like complicated and dexterous, but has never actually played it before. So it's just kind of like he's just kind of like a show off.
I love that.
Ostentatious clothes. I had to like reconcile that with my previous look of wearing poor clothes. Basically, just to say that I did have like very fancy clothes, but they just gone to shit completely.
So they're shabby, ostentatious clothes. They're like
Yeah.
maybe got little holes here and there. Or they're just not
Sure.
kept clean, but they're good quality.
So like, yeah, in line with the fact that my general appearance is kind of like slovenly and trampish. It's like I did used to have these clothes, but I just didn't look after them, and now they're just like nasty. And then
Because you sleep
yeah.
in stables. I mean,
Yeah, just because he's neutral, like he's not assertive, basically. And halfling pipe leaf for all of the reasons that we discussed.
pipe loaf. What about I'm curious about his dueling rapier.
So again, it's like
Well, I want to point out first the rapier. It's a little bit of an exotic weapon in a Viking setting, but it ties in well with the fact if he's a historian or comes from a family of historians, that they would have artifacts from distant lands.
And again, it's like giving this kind of facade of like elegance and intelligence. So like a rapier is like a very sort of
People are like, oh, what
like
kind
a
of sword
refined-
is this? And you're like, oh,
Yeah,
it
like
comes
a-
from Arabia.
and it's like a sophisticated thing to have, but it doesn't necessarily imply that he knows how to use it or like he would actually be able to kill anybody with it. But it's just, again, it's just all superficial.
10 miles wide, 1 inch deep.
Now, keep in mind one thing as well. You're talking about being a historian. Our game, the Saga of Broken Blades, is not set on Earth, right? It's going to be in a made-up world, just with Viking culture. You feel me? So, as far as the history of places and stuff, feel free to go, wow, whatever you want, Goblin Wars and whatever. Go ham.
Cheers.
Yeah, I was gonna think it'd be like a teeth picker, Sabatum. That'd be hand me that tooth picker over there. All right, so I think that was everyone's gear because we did the ranger before. So the next phase of character creation here, we got through here pretty decently fast. Is going to be introducing the characters. Now, what I want to do here. This is the part where we start to, now that we have these characters very well meshed in our mind through the progression that we've just gone through, we're going to be able to talk about the world a little bit. Now, drawing maps is something that you want to do in Dungeon World, but you don't need to necessarily be like ultra gridded off and blah blah blah, because you're never really going to be measuring like exact how many feet, whatever. So it's much more free form. So we're just going to be drawing on here essentially. Now one thing is, I would imagine that Sigmund would probably be the character who actually was keeping the map. I'm going to call it Sigmund's map up there. But even though you're a skilled illustrator, don't feel like you gotta like draw stuff.
Alright.
But let's start, actually, since we've been going top to bottom the whole time, I'll start at the bottom. Oscar Skavgard. Introduce him to me. Tell me where he's from, what he's about, why he's a ranger. And we're gonna need to put a location on the map here for him, at least one.
Well, Oscar is a man of the woods, so he does not have a large homesteading, but merely a roof and a bed to sleep. But he's near He's on the cusp of woods and meadow grasslands.
So we need
That's where he
some
wants to stay.
woods. We need some woods that he lives at the edge of, right? So I think I'll just draw everything in black. I think that would be cool. Cause like you could just, I'm just gonna draw. How thick is this line gonna be? Yeah, I want it a little thicker than that. Maybe I will use some color though. I'm just gonna go ultra primitive here. I think there's a decent font to use too, that way we can just type. Find that. Is that the one I wanted to use? Probably. That's the one that looks the closest to like writing. Alright, so Oscar has Skavgard, which is his place at the edge of some woods. What are the woods called? Oscar. Are they it's pine trees, obviously. Based on my drawing. Is it like pines? Is it birch? Is it hilly? Is it flat? Is it a valley? Is there water in the woods? Are the woods dangerous?
The woods they do have a river running through them, but not. It is a small like tributary in this section, and it is. I said it was rolling out into meadows, so it's like gentle rolling hills through there.
Alright, so you said there's
and the woods. Honestly, the woods are dangerous with wild animals.
Say there's a river. About that. You say the woods are dangerous.
In the name of
so
the
they
woods
should have a dangerous name.
Vulcan Tonk.
Vulcan?
Vulcan Tonk.
Vulcan
Yeah,
Tonk.
Yes.
We're gonna need to go easier than that.
Easy? Oh, come
You
on.
can do Vulcan. What does that mean?
Like literally the word Vulcan?
How about I'm just gonna call it
Or to me.
Volcar Forest. Is that close enough? Good enough, right? About that. Cool. So, Oscar, he has a small shack, if anything, on the other side of the river from the dangerous Volcar Forest. Why is it dangerous? Wolves, bears,
A variety of
worse
wild animals.
supernatural creatures.
I thought we were going low key on the magic and other things, so no supernatural.
That's what you think.
Well, that's what I was told. Oh no.
I mean,
Well,
by
that's
going
still-
low key on the magic and stuff, what I mean is, does magic exist? Yes. Are magical items handed out like candy? No. Are there things like goblins and trolls and things, the mythic Viking things? Yes. There definitely are. So, that aspect is like fantasy. There's definitely monsters. So having goblins and trolls and shit in there is something a ranger would absolutely know about. You know well the demons that lurk in the forest. So why is Oscar Skovgard a ranger? Why does he live out by himself, out by the edge of Volker Forest?
I wouldn't say he was outcasted per se, but he kind of just more enjoyed being on his own away from the village that he grew up in. He was more like he enjoyed being outside and on his own rather than amongst the other people.
He grew up in a village? Is that in a far distant land, not anywhere near here?
It is nearby. People know that Oscar is
Well, where is he
not
from?
one to be from.
Maybe he's from the same village as someone else, right?
He's from.
No, we're gonna give someone else an opportunity, alright?
Alright, we're good. That's fine.
But we need a village, that's for sure. Why is Oscar a ranger? We know about his wolf, whose name I regrettably keep forgetting. Volan. We know about Volan the wolf, his faithful companion. We know that he's disheveled. We know about his neutrality. We know that he has a bow that he's crafted himself, that he honors and keeps. We know that he carries a spear that he's lashed together. We know a lot about him there. What is he up to? Why is he a ranger? Why is he out there by himself? Give me the gist. The simple gist.
Let's say Oscar just liked to be on his own rather than being that, and he became like a ranger / hunter out of necessity. So he trained well and hard on his own with his bow.
Because
and
keep
his
in
spears he
mind,
needed.
as a level 1 ranger in Dungeon World, you are even at level 1, you're known. You're like a budding legend. So why does the ranger, the honorable and clever ranger Oscar Skovgard, live out at his joking shack called Skovgard, out at the edge of Volker Forest, dipping into the Lotta River? Why does he live out there? Is he protecting? Is he trying to keep
he's
eyes on the
keeping-
forest?
He's keeping the dangerous creatures of the Volcar forest at bay, and at times befriending them.
Gotcha. Alright, so that's his modus operandi. Cool. I feel like I know Oscar. Let's skip around. Bruce Jotunsen. Are you from the same village as Oscar?
Yes, Jotun was a lumberjack in that town.
Ah, so he's a woodcutter, or at least as a youth, he was a woodcutter in the village. Now, let's talk a little bit about something that's somewhat advanced, but I'm just going to bring it up briefly. It's part of game mastering. I'll be teaching a bit of this during Dungeon World. Let me see if it's on here. No, it's elsewhere. Let me find this for you guys. There we go. So in Dungeon World, there's a set of rules called steadings. Steadings are communities, holds, and so on, where there's a place to stay, and some modicum of civilization. Steadings can be a size from a village to a town to a keep to a city. All right. So I'm saying village purposefully because we're gonna whatever this place is gonna wind up when I stat it up as the lowest, the smallest. I mean, size of steading, right? What is the village? Bruce Johnson. By the way, Sabatum, isn't Lada like a terrible car? I thought it'd be funny to name the river. Anyone on the Infinite Couch, you got a good village name here? You could help out the
Ladestad.
Can't use my word.
Okay.
You said you had a village name, Lewis?
Yeah, but I'm keeping it for my guy. I'm being selfish.
Good.
How about Oddstad? OD?
ODDSTAD.
Oddstad?
I'm down. I like it. Let me draw it in here. I'm gonna put it down here. These are Aboriginal Europeans, okay? So their drawings are not the... Well, actually, I take that back because if you look at Viking art, it will blow your mind because what the Vikings were capable of, especially in sculpture, compared to others during the same time, you're like, what the fuck? What kind of alien technology? So the art was actually quite good. There wasn't like a written language though. That was a weird thing. It was all runes. I mean, you could write runes, but they were almost always carved, even if they had the ability to write them. Viking history with Dave O. ODDSTAD. Oddstad. The odds are good, but the odds are stod. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, there's no... The rulers are non-functional here, so... That's like... You're Aboriginal Europeans, damn it. You're like... That's 14 yonders. You don't know how far it is. Alright, so we do have a village of origin for at least... Well, as Oscar, he's... I kind of roped him into that because I said he's from there, so you're roped in. Oscar Skovgard of Oddstad. He left. He lives out in the woods. He calls his little shack Skovgard. Bruce Jotunsen was a young, known wood chopper in Oddstad. What caused him to become the known fighting man and wielder of Hringir that he is today?
His father died in a raid.
A raid by whom or against whom?
A raid by orcs.
You know what? I apologize. Give me just a second. I need to start taking some notes real quick. So, revisiting Oscar. Oscar is from Oddstad. This is where you shouldn't be looking at my stream if you're fucking playing in the game. So on our right, will kill on first session. Is
Don't worry, if I roll badly enough,
is Oscar's family alive?
Yes, they are alive.
And they still live in Oddstad.
Yes.
His mom and dad are both there.
And his brother.
Okay. What are their names? Or do you want to leave that
Give me
shrouded in
time to
mystery?
brew on that.
No. You don't have to give me names now. That could be shrouded in mystery. Just to know that.
I'll come up with them if we run into them at some point.
Exactly. Oh, we will. Are you on good terms with them?
We're on neutral terms. They
So
they
much
acknowledge that I'm
neutrality.
there and do visit.
They are
I do
on bad terms. That's what I'm typing. Oh, in 3 dots, ominously.
Well, this is from Oscar's point of view. Then how about that?
He's like, good enough. Cool. All right, so Bruce Jotunsen.
They're not dead. I'm not dead. We're good.
Bruce. I'll try to not say what I type. I have a bad habit of doing that. So you said he chopped wood growing up.
Correct.
However, how did he transform into the fighting man and wielder of Hringir?
When he lost his father, he decided to use his father's sword to protect the whole town, to ensure that no one would ever have to suffer the same way he did.
So you said his father died in a raid on Odstad. By whom?
Orcs.
By orcs. From where? From Volcar Forest?
Let's say from Volcar Forest.
Okay.
There's got to be something in there, right?
Sounds like there's at least some orcs in there. Tell me of the transformation.
He was watching as his father was cut down from the house, and his father was using what amounts to a tree to try to beat off the orcs away from his family and his home. And when he saw his father fall, he grabbed the sword and ran out.
But I mean, as an adult, has he been out on Vix?
Yeah. He's
So he's
been
seen.
going out.
He's been out. He's traveled. He's come home.
Yeah.
What's he up to now?
He has returned to town to make sure everyone's okay and see what's changed.
So he's kind of checking in for. All right. So if he's checking in like that, if he is a Viking, if he goes out on the Vix, if he's checking in, that would more than likely mean that it was I would say early spring planting season. So you can plant, say what's up family, then peace out for the Vik season. So he's home checking in because it's early spring. Is your mama still alive? Siblings?
No, she passed away in childbirth, and he's an only child.
So he's checking in on his friends and basically.
Yes.
Okay.
We need a body of water to be Vikings. Come on now.
Oh, we'll draw it in.
The river leads to it. Come on.
There you go. Could be off this map. What about Sigmund?
Well, how do I... Sorry, I'm going to be a noob here and try and draw. Is that it? Yep.
Oh yeah, no, feel free to draw.
Alright.
Were you able to
basically-
find the tool and everything?
Yep. I'm there, man.
If you need to, well, hang on real quick because it's kind of weird this aspect. If you need to edit the crap, when you draw it, it makes it like an object. So then you can like select the line and delete that particular. You know what I mean? You get it?
So clever.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but you can also pick up your drawing and drag it around, which is kind of cool.
What?
But it's like line by line, though you can like, and again, almost like a PowerPoint presentation. Like, let's say you drew something; it's obviously composed of individual lines. You could drag a box to select the lines and then group it together as one thing. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Well, I'm gonna try and tread the careful line between drawing something and messing about with it, just so that people don't fall asleep. Basically, what I figured for Sigmund is that he is from the town of Ugathwaite, which is deep in Volcar Forest.
Ooh.
So now Ugathwaite, since you asked, translates roughly into into Owl's Meadow. So the idea there is that it's basically a clearing in the forest, which is basically a town which is full of kind of like respected historians and generally just like wise lads who are living in the center of the forest in this settlement called Ugathwaite. How do I write?
The text tool. I could just do that for you real quick. If you type how to spell it into the chat, I'll do it.
Put that into chat. All right.
Perfect.
So that's where he's from, and that's kind of in the center of the forest. So it's just almost like not necessarily like a secret town or a secret village or anything like that, but it's just kind of like a very secluded, slightly like isolationist kind of place. And
so he was born in Ugathwaite.
Yeah.
Are both his parents historians?
His father is, so that would be.
You don't gotta come up with names and stuff now, right now.
Thank God.
We're just getting the gist of it, you know. Basically, everything you say during this phase, while we're getting kind of the backstory, is ammunition for me.
All right, well,
so give me family members to kill and kidnap and all the.
I tell you, like, which ones are my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, I have a toddler little brother.
That is to say nothing of his golden retriever. Who any Viking god. Yeah. So basically, my guy Sigmund defected, and he didn't want to kind of stay in Ugathwaite. He didn't want to be like somebody who was born, who would live, and who would die in this kind of like stuffy, cornered off village from the rest of the world. So he defected and basically just said, I'm just going to leave.
Now I'm thinking that I'm going to make Ugathwaite a keep. And the reason is it's in very dangerous territory. So, kind of interesting actually. In the beginning of Baldur's Gate, you're in a place called Candlekeep, which is like a library / fortress. And I imagine something like a toned down version of that.
Sounds perfect, man.
Because I was imagining, how would these intellectuals stay alive? And maybe it was a tradition to store their knowledge in a safe place, i.e. a dangerous place. And, you know, it's like a small keep where there's maybe a warrior tradition who guards the intellectuals, you know?
I tried doing like a really rudimentary like fortress wall with like buildings inside of it. So it's like a kind of slightly sort of like fortified, dusty. So yeah, so it's in like a dangerous place, but it's kind of protected by these like a warrior tradition to defend it.
Yeah.
But basically, in the inside, you've got these very like sissy intellectuals who are just well protected by other people, and they're kind of free to like.
But Sigmund wasn't having that, and so he fled.
he thought that he was too good for it. He thought that he was kind of like young, maybe like a bit too intelligent to survive. So he fled, but he only got as far as Scarfguard because he's a wuss and actually didn't survive going through the forest. So he basically collapsed.
So it was nice.
So he's actually living with Oscar, or like living around where Oscar is based, kind of.
Oscar's
Sort of-
caretaking
living
him.
with is a very, very
living
small
near.
term.
Living near.
There's basically a roof and a bed. There's nothing else there, buddy.
Yeah.
in proximity to, and
Leeching
I'll go
off,
to Scarfguard
perhaps,
too.
is a good word. Leeching off.
and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but hopefully the bonds between the characters will represent the.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it'd be a good opportunity there.
So basically, yeah, I tried to run away from home as far as there, and now I've basically just given up and I'm mooching off of Oscar.
Yep, I've changed bonds twice since we've been discussing our character.
Also, another reason we're doing this prior to Bonds. I used to be like, why did they put this before Bonds? But now I get it. So cool. So I get Sigmund, I get Bruce, I get Oscar. You gotta learn about Edda. What can you tell me?
Edda is also from Oddstad,
Okay.
and fought beside Bruce on the recent orc raids. Before she was a paladin, she was actually just a simple housewife. And her husband died and went to Valhalla, and she would like to go to Valhalla too.
Ah.
Nice.
So although it's not very common for a woman to be a warrior, Edda
It is if
misses
she's
her
trying to
husband
get to
and wants
Valhalla.
wants to join him in Valhalla. Mm-hmm.
Now the one question I have right off the bat is Oscar leaving and going to choose to live by the woods. That makes sense. As far as no one really cares if he goes and does that. People might suspect he's outlaw. But aside from that, Bruce, going out on Vix, that's pretty simple. He just has to make sure he yields the appropriate amount to I haven't exactly decided what terms I want to use yet, so for now I'm just going to say the Jarl. Might not even be that high. I would say maybe he yields the Thane's share, as he's supposed to. He's good to go as far as authority goes. He follows the laws. Sigmund, again, at this stage of the game, he's out in the woods with Oscar. It is possible. I would say it'd be possible that maybe Ugathwaite would have dispatched some of its warriors to try to get Sigmund back, because he's like almost intellectual property as well. So I kind of see that as far as with authority, he might be a little on the side of the law there. But then again, it's like there's no real clear. It'd basically be like if they could force him to go back, then he's got to go back. But if they can't force him, then there's no real Viking law that says he's got to. So he's not a thrall or anything. So he's a free man. Edda is essentially like the law. If she worships Tyr, she's we've been kind of setting her up like the law of the land. So do you want to have that be the way it is, like you're
Well, I was kind of thinking that maybe not I personally am the law of the land, but maybe like my father is the priest of Tyr in Oddstad. He's the true law of the land. Or
well, it would be more like that your father would be a judge.
Right.
But you could be a judge if you want to. Again, it's Dungeon World, so even level 1 Dungeon World characters are a cut above. They're budding legends, so you can be a judge. Yeah, it doesn't have to be your daddy. Your parents don't even have to be alive. But it's totally your call. If you want it to be that way, and then you're not actually a judge, that's fine too. I was just saying, don't hold yourself back because you have kind of that. I know I already knew what you were thinking. AD&D, or old school Dungeons and Dragons. A level 1 character could like fall and skin their knee and die, but not so much.
Lewis, I love what you're doing with Ugathwaite.
Thanks, man. I'm just getting into it.
And now all our maps will be amazing.
Yeah, Lewis is disgustingly skilled at illustration. It's actually, Lewis is like, I have a PhD, but in my spare time I do doodles that are better than people with lifetimes of training. Well, I'll be over here with my aristocratic accent, ladies.
Don't forget my cathedral.
I'm gonna kill him.
You have to get through his castle first.
Yeah, you have to get through the guards.
Yes, try and find me.
So what's the setup, Edda?
Yeah, Edda could be a judge. I mean, she is the fair.
That's what I was saying. It's like a double entendre.
Probably just recently picked up the swordsmanship, though,
I mean, does she come from a lineage of judges? That would make sense.
Yeah,
Maybe your
her
father had no sons.
Nope, and I'm the oldest of the daughters.
Oh, so you have siblings?
Mm-hmm.
Is your father? Are your parents dead?
No. At least not my father. I don't know.
You gotta
I
tell
haven't
me.
thought much about my mom.
Are they?
No,
Do they
she's
not
alive.
live there anymore?
No, they live there.
Okay.
We're all from Modstad.
Okay. The eldest of how many daughters?
4 daughters.
Fuck's sake. Poor guy.
Well, he was trying to have a son.
He's like, God damn it. Seed. Alright. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to you?
Makes sense to me.
So Oscar, Bruce, and Ed are all from the village of Odstad. Sigmund is from the somewhat mythical Keep of Knowledge, Ugathwaite, within Volcar Forest. Though he's limped his way to Oscar's Skovgard. No? Very, very good. So I believe last step we got here, or one of the last, is choosing bonds. And bonds are one of the cooler aspects of Dungeon World. They're the reasons, or some of the reasons, that the characters are with each other. Some moves have you roll how many bonds you have with someone, so the closer your characters are tied together, the better you're going to be at those things. And bonds are another way you can earn experience points. When you resolve bonds, that is, kind of fully explore the story behind them, or what they pertain to, or have it change in some way where the bond doesn't apply anymore. You get an XP, and you get to write a new bond. So there's not a lot of ways to get XP in this game, so bonds are pretty critical. And we are going to do bonds right now. I think the way we'll do it is I'm going to start with Edda, and give me one of your bonds. And if you're curious about how this works, I'll pull up, for instance, the Paladin right here. And if you take a look at bonds, she's got some starting bonds here. and then and you don't have to start with all of these if you don't want to. You gotta just start it with at least one. And the only time you get to write new ones during gameplay is when you resolve an existing one. But when you're beginning a campaign, you got to use one of these printed ones and fill in the Mad Lib there. So what's one of your bonds?
Bruce has stood by me in battle and can be trusted completely.
Oh, what battle? What were you battling? You don't have to give me like insane detail, but
No, that work raid.
was it orcs? Was it that raid like that when he was younger? Was that the time? So it was like years distant. He still remembers that you were right there with them fighting. Excellent. Bruce, what's one of your bonds?
Oscar owes me their life, whether they admit it or not.
Oscar owes Bruce his life, whether he admits it or not. Why would he owe you his life?
Don't we have to find that out?
So you want to have it remain veiled in mystery?
Yeah.
Okay. What's one of your bonds, Sigmund?
So my first one is I'm writing a ballad about the adventure fair, and that's basically just a suck up move.
The adventure of who?
So-
Edda?
Edda, yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like a sucky up thing. It's just like
You want to be on the good side of the judge?
yeah, basically. So like acknowledging that she's of status and like I'm gonna write really good songs about you, so don't worry about me.
Nice. Oscar, give me a bond.
No, I miswrote one of mine. Let me change that. It should say Sigmund does not understand life in the wild, so I will teach him.
Aww. That's a good one.
I like that.
Alright, let's go back. Edda, give me another one.
Sigmund's misguided behavior endangers their very soul.
So that almost ties back to the fact that he's trying to butter you up because you're like
With songs,
you're disreputable. Nice.
Scallywag.
What's another one, Bruce?
I have sworn to protect Edda.
Oh, see, he remembers. Excellent. What's another one, Sigmund?
Bruce is often the butt of my joke.
Aw, why you gotta pick on Bruce? That'll be
It's just like
entertaining,
a-
though. Oscar, hit me with another one.
Sigmund has no respect for nature, so I have no respect for him.
So you're begrudgingly teaching him, you're like, alright, you fucking bastard. Don't eat that. You're like, do eat that, and then he eats it, and you're like, just kidding, you're gonna have diarrhea now. But you'll remember. Alright, I think, did you guys write at least 3? Right?
Yep.
Alright.
I had
I have
4.
4.
And I think
I
some
have all
have
4.
I think some have 4. Yeah. So let's do the third for Edda.
I respect the beliefs of Oscar, but hope they will someday see the true way.
So you want him to turn away from his more heathen paganistic ways and to be more interested in venerating the pantheon?
Yeah, come back to lawful society.
Yeah, because they're kind of one and the same. So you're kind of, I mean, Vikings were all about nature worship. So you more mean also not living out in the woods and becoming a beast. Nice.
Yeah, rejoining fellow man.
What about you, Bruce?
I worry about the ability of Sigmund to survive in the dungeon.
That's good. Now I see why Sigmund makes fun of you all the time.
So my third one is just simply because I've been living so close to him that we've, whether he likes it or not, like we've been involved in situations together. So we'll be doing it again.
What's the bond?
Can you repeat that for me?
Oh, this is not my first adventure with Oscar.
Ah. So Oscar's had to deal with you. Maybe you tried to run away before or something.
Yeah, well, it's just like we've had like a kind of in the shack together that before this adventure we've had to like have our own adventures before, so that's where that comes from.
Got it. And then Oscar?
Bruce is a friend of nature, so I will be his friend as well.
Oh, I mean he chops it down, but maybe he doesn't.
He's fine. He replants.
Yeah, he cuts down the dead wood. It's good.
Sustainable.
Now a couple have 4, right? Some classes have 3 bonds at start, but a couple have 4.
Yeah, I have 4.
All right,
That's 4 as well.
give me him.
Bruce is a brave soul. I have much to learn from him.
Oh, the love affair. All right.
This one's a toss-up now, because that makes me kind of want to make it so Edda is soft, but I will make them hard like me. But it was originally Sigmund is soft, and I will make them hard like me. I think I'm going Edda.
That would be funnier, yeah, because she like respects you, and you're like, yeah, you're weak.
And he knows I want to go to Valhalla, so
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I need to prove myself first.
So those are our characters, and a thing I really
have
like.
Bond.
Oh, wait, you had 4? I thought you said 3.
Yeah.
All right, give me
I
your
have
4th
4.
one. Give it to me then.
I have guided Edda before, and she owes me for it.
We'll leave that one veiled in mystery. The final step is get ready to play, and it says take a little break. So we're gonna take a little break. Then we're gonna play out a pretty short scene, because we were trying to stop by about 4. Lewis can actually go a little bit later than that, but we won't go much later. We're literally just gonna play like one scene out, just to have an opportunity to mess with the dice a little bit. But that's the reason I made it episode 0, because not a lot of action is going to happen. We're just going to begin a scene. I've already kind of got it in my head, but I'll think about it more while we take a little break here, so we walk around, stretch, and then we'll come back, play out the scene, and then that'll be that. I'll be back in a little bit. That goes for y'all too. Take a break. We'll be taking a break. We're gonna play out a little scene, which is encouraged in Dungeon World. First session, mostly just make your characters, then play out a bit of a scene. But first we need a break here. So before we get to the Saga Broken Blades, take a break. Appreciate y'all chilling. Appreciate the support, as always. I think we've got a command for the rules. You want to check those out? Boom. I'll be back in a bit. All right. So we're gonna do first. Thanks for your patience. We're gonna do probably about a 30-minute-ish, less than an hour scene for sure here, because I'm trying to respect the Scottish time. But I thought of a pretty fun one here. Get back to it. We're doing episode 0, character creation, pretty much, of my Viking-themed Dungeon World game, the Saga of Broken Blades. And how it works in Dungeon World is your first session is mostly just character creation, with a little bit of playing at the end. What up?
Hey,
I think they're plotting to kill me.
Probably.
That's the end shot.
Let me pull up a tool here to make names. Yeah, it's like midnight in for Lewis right now, so so we're transitioning onto the first session, the play part of the first session. And as a GM or as a dungeon master in Dungeon World, these are the things you're focused on the first session. Now, without getting too much into like how the dungeon mastering works today, essentially the dungeon master in Dungeon World is playing by rules too, more so than in a lot of systems. And there are certain moves that I have access to as well. But as far as what is guiding you as a dungeon master running this little play part of the first character creation session, you're looking to establish details and describe. You're trying to use what they give you. Remember earlier I said they're giving me ammo. You want to ask them questions about stuff. Leave blanks. Remember we were like not naming people, leaving some stuff nebulous. Look for interesting facts. Help the players understand the moves, and y'all watching as well, especially the first session. Give each character a chance to shine, and introduce NPCs. So the scene is gonna take place. Let me mark it on the map here. Barely read that, so a little. Let's put it outside of Oddstad here. So our scene, our introductory scene here is going to take place at, I think you'd pronounce it Hake. So Hawk, or maybe it'd be Hake. I like Hake better. Hakestead.
Hakestead.
Yeah. Maybe if he lives long enough, he'll become. Which is a landholder, Hake, his stead outside of Oddstad. Now what I'm gonna do is give us another page here. Yeah, let me get it set up here real quick. One moment.
Make sure you give our artist a heads up that you're changing pages.
Yeah, well.
No!
Let's see. Because you want to draw maps of anything and everything in Dungeon World. So we're setting up a map for Hake's stead here. Now Hake, like I mentioned, is a landholder. And the scene is going to have Edda out serving some justice. But it's going to take me a moment here to get everything set up. So just bear with me. I mean, or don't. You could also just not bear with.
Are you done yet?
Let's go, guys.
We there yet?
Let's
We
go.
there yet? We there yet? Okay. I'm glad that I've gotten halfway decent at Roll20 though, because when you're like first learning how to do all this shit, you're like, what do I even do? Okay. Alright, I'm about to drag you guys over here. Is that alright? We good?
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, it's just a blank page.
Start drawing, Lewis.
Do you want to draw some stuff, Lewis?
If you tell me what's going on.
Yeah, we just need like here, I'll do even better. Probably better. Let me give you an image here first. Check this out. So here's an example Viking hut. Boom. Okay.
Cool.
Ooh, that's a good one. Here's a long house. And this is also similar to how the barns would look. And just give him a couple buildings. That's all he needs.
Alright.
Mostly just fields, so maybe make them small. Give him, I don't know, a couple little fences or something. Whatever. But anyway, I'll begin describing this. So, our scene is going to be taking place on an early spring evening. The sun is set, the moon and stars are out, there's a little bit of a breeze rustling the long grasses in the fields of Hakestead, which will soon be weeded and seeded as it is the early spring. You can see two men Hidri and Foxy. We got Hake, Hidri, and Foxy. Hidri and Foxy are kneeling. They're dressed in frayed, shabby clothing. Their hair and beards are uncombed. Their hands are bound with leather behind them while they're down on their knees. Before them is standing a figure in scale mail with red hair you can spot from far away. It's Edda, the fair, and she's here to pass judgment on Hedri and Foxy, two disgusting pig thieves who Hake caught stealing. Hake is also there. He is an older bear of a man. His hair going gray and white. Massive beard and hair. Even though it's spring and relatively warm, he's got a big fur mantle on. Just because he likes it. And he's there. Edda's there. Bruce Jotunsen is also there. Edda often brings Bruce along as almost an unofficial deputy when handling matters of law. My challenge here is, why would Oscar and Sigmund be down here at Hakestead?
You said this was outside of Odstead?
Yeah, Hakestead is, if you can imagine, Odstad would be a relatively small place, just a crossroads with some buildings, pretty much. Maybe an inn. And surrounding this, leading up to that small clump of settlement there, would be large farming fields, as well as large copses of wood left for hunting. And those would belong to landholders like Hake. So it'd be kind of like big farmsteads leading up to, this village, which is nothing big itself, but if you can imagine that.
Well, Oscar and Sigmund were traveling back to Odstead with some, I should say Oscar is carrying some game back to the village to trade. Or to give back to the town, I should say, and visit his parents.
So Oscar had taken Sigmund hunting, and they so happened to be hunting in the copse of woods, bordering, maybe even on, you sneaky little bastard, Hake's
No, I
land.
said we're traveling back from.
Okay, so you hunted it elsewhere, but you happened to hunt it somewhere that requires you to travel past this to get back
We
to
hunted in the
Onstad.
Volcar Forest, and we're bringing game back.
Well, but see, then look. All right, I'll morph reality. That's fine. That's cool. That works for me. I'll put it right in.
We're walking through the field.
Putting it right in your pathway.
Exactly.
Got it.
I couldn't see it on the map. That's what I was
Right.
asking.
I feel you. Got it. So you're walking with. You've got an elk. And Sigmund's helping you drag this thing. He gets the ass in. Literally.
Yep.
So that sets the scene well for me. Now, a little bit of an explanation. The way Dungeon World works as far as taking turns and stuff is you just jump in. And as the dungeon master, what I do is so imagine it this way. Imagine that there's a camera, right? Because we are watching a badass Viking television show. Before you forget, this is scene 1. It's like a teaser scene taking place in Hakestead. if you can imagine that camera, when the camera points at me as the dungeon master, that's when I make one of my moves. I have a list of moves just like the players. Now, during this first session, I have specific goals I'm trying to achieve. But to be fair, if you're a pretty experienced DM, you're going to be trying to achieve these goals and other goals as well regularly. So it's not too bad. So I will be actually using my moves and stuff too. So I'll be following the rules even a little closer than the first session normally requires. But what that means is the players are encouraged to make moves, because when they stop making moves, I start making moves, and they're usually not gonna like the outcome of my moves. Now, one more thing. There are only a couple ways you can even try to earn experience points in Dungeon World. That's failing a roll, so if you roll 6 or less. That's fulfilling your alignment at least one time during the session. That's resolving a bond that you have with another character. Or there's a series of questions I'll ask at the end of the session, and each one of those that we can confirm happened, you also get an XP for. And those are the only ways. So if you're not doing those things, you're not even playing the game. Etta, do you want to start? It's an evening night. Hidri, a redhead like you, and Foxy are bound and kneeling before you. Hake is there, off to your left. Bruce is standing a step behind you to your right. You can hear the wind, you can hear crickets echoing throughout the empty fields, filled with weeds waiting to be planted. What do you do?
I speak directly to Hake. He's the one who summoned me. And ask him to describe what happened.
Hake says, it's a pretty simple tale. I caught these two pig stealers attempting to make away with some of my prized flesh. Fortunately, they underestimated me as an old man, alone out here on my stead. You can see from the goose egg rising on that one, he gives a kick toward the redhead, Hidri, and he does indeed have a big welt rising on the side of his forehead. You can imagine Faxi has one too, just covered by his hair. I proved to be more of a challenge than they thought. They were easy to detain, but I like to stay on the right side of the law. So I sent for someone. He sits back, satisfied. What do you do?
Etta leans in to investigate Hidri and Faxi and asks them, is this story true? What do you have to say for yourselves?
Faxi has dark hair. Suspicious eyes. He's almost whispering, trying to keep it so that Hake can't hear. He's lying. He's kidnapping us. Idri kind of looks at Faxi out of the side of his eye as well, but doesn't say anything. What do you do? And feel free, Bruce, if you want to jump in with the move, you can. Oscar and Sigmund can see what's happening as they cross the fields. So anyone's fair to jump in with moves here. I'm being nice so far, so.
I'd like to closely study them while they're speaking and see their body movements and discern some realities here.
Nope. So
Okay.
don't say moves. We're gonna get out of that habit, which is fine. But that's good. Try not to say the moves. The move he's going for to trigger is discern realities. But you did describe it well. I imagine that Bruce would be standing there reading the whole situation almost while Edda distracts them while talking, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen that a million times in cop shows and shit. So that part was good, but let's try to make our description so obvious and so well done that you know what move, because I could tell what you meant. You feel me?
Alright.
So the move that he triggered there is called Discern Realities. And again, we weren't rolling any dice. We were just talking back and forth with Edda. But that is kind of moves too, because I was actually doing some moves there as well through what they were saying. But anyway, this is actually a move where you roll dice. So this move here is a basic move. Any player character can do it. And it's called Discern Realities. I've got it pulled up right here for you. When you closely study a situation or person, roll wisdom. And every roll of this nature in Dungeon World is always 2d6, 2 6-sided die, plus whatever your modifier is, in this case wisdom. And then a 10 plus is best, a 7 to 9 is still pretty good, and then a 6 or below is good for me and bad for the players. So let's go ahead and roll the bones here. Paint. So you have a no wisdom mod, just the straight up.
Bark, 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 a woo.
Would you do me a favor and thank Poodle for this very generous tip of $20 for some Dungeon World action?
Thank you, Poodle.
Let's all say
Thank you,
together,
Poodle.
yeah, on 3. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then we say thank you, Poodle. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank
Thank
you,
you, Poodle.
There you go. All right. So Bruce blew his discern realities while he's watching Edda speaking with Hake and the 2 sequestered pig thieves. That means I get to do a move, and I can be as hard as I want about it. That's very
And
kind,
Bruce
Poodle.
gets to mark experience.
Appreciate that. Another important factor, and I sometimes forget. As a player, you don't want to forget. If you blow a roll, if you roll 6 or less, you at least get to mark XP because failure builds character. Hidri, the redhead who remained silent while Edda was speaking with Faxi, notices Bruce has essentially been eyeballing him this entire time. Out of nowhere, he stands up as his hands are only bound. And he's in Bruce's face to face. Are you taller than him?
Of course. I'm the son of a giant.
Face to chin. Chest bumping you. saying, "Oh, do you got a fucking problem here?" What do you do?
I stare down at him and I tell him I'm not the law. She's the law. If there's a problem here, she's the one that's going to be the one swinging the sword. I'm only here as her bulwark.
He's right there. You need a woman to fight your battles for you? Take. What do you do? Anyone can jump in, by the way.
I feel like now would be a really good time for me to butt in and try and smooth things over. Things seem to be running a little tense.
Can't wait for this making fun of. So, Sigmund and Oscar happen to be traveling through Hake's fields and see this. They've, of course, come by to see the hubbub. They know each other previously. Hake, Bruce, Etta. Or sorry, not Hake. I mean Bruce, Etta, Oscar, and Sigmund. Though I'm sure, all know of Hake, and maybe you've even heard of Hedry and Foxy. Who knows? Looks like they've put down the game and are watching the goings on. What does Sigmund do?
Well, I think.
Sigmund, buddy, you look a little tongue-tied trying to budge in here. How's it going, Etta? What's happening here?
A couple of supposed pick thieves stand before us. We're trying to figure out what to do with them. Etta's gonna turn to, it's Hedry, who's in Oscar's face, right?
The redhead. Yep.
Oh,
He's
Oscar
not in
just walked
Oscar's
in.
face. He's in
In
Bruce's
Bruce's.
face.
Oh, in Bruce's face, sorry.
Your deputy.
I'm getting names mixed up a little here.
Yeah.
He's just staring up at him.
Mm-hmm. Etta's gonna remind him, sir, that I am a priestess of the god Tyr. And Tyr does not look kindly on those who'd break man's laws. So if you'd like to receive appropriate justice, you should sit back down. And I am trying to use a paladin move here.
Ah. I'm gonna guess that you're using I am the law.
I am.
So, and that was well done. Etta activated in a move called I am the law. When you give an NPC an order based on your divine authority, roll charisma. And then you've got different effects depending on how you roll. So let's see the bones first. She rolls an 8. On a 7+, they choose one. So I get to choose whether I want to have Hedry do what she said, back away cautiously, then flee, or attack you. Hedry turns to look at Etta, then shoves off of Bruce and starts hightailing it out of there. What do you do?
I turn to Bruce. Go
Foxy
after
is still
him.
kneeling on the
draws his
ground.
bow.
Bruce is gonna chuck his fucking sword.
Oscar draws his bow, firing in his legs.
Alright, so I heard Miller talk first. So Oscar, sounds like you want to do a called shot.
Absolutely.
Is that a ranger or everybody? I think that's ranger.
That is a ranger.
Okay, so Hedry bails, trying to escape his justice for being a pig thief. There's many things happening at once right now, but the first of those things is Oscar, who perhaps is already limbering up his bow, thinking this might get interesting.
It's his naturally quick reflexes.
He's like, I put the game down. It's time to get the bow prepared to hunt more game. All right. When you attack a defenseless or surprised enemy at range, you can choose to deal your damage or name your target and roll dex. Now, the surprise or defenseless part of this is a little bit iffy, but I will give it to you in this instance because Hedry did not know you were there until just now.
I would say he's defenseless if he's
Yeah.
running.
He's got his arms tied. He's pretty
That's
defenseless.
true. Yeah, he's tied up too. But look, you don't think he could kick an arrow?
No.
So you definitely have called shot. I was just being a curmudgeon. So you deal your damage, and so you get guaranteed damage, or name a target and try to roll to do something. Are you going for the name a target?
Yep. I'm called for shooting him in the legs.
Cool. So
Aiming
called
for
shot
his
legs.
calf.
Roll the bones. Holy shit.
Nice.
No wonder people know of Oscar Skovgard. So he rolled
So-
a 10 plus, so he gets the hobbled and slow moving as well as dealing his damage. Now, what is the damage for a ranger? Is it a D6?
1d8.
D8, nice. So you'll also roll D8 damage.
So as Oscar catches someone fleeing the scene as Edna had just said, they were thieves. He quickly draws his bow and lets loose an arrow that sinks into his calf and comes out the other side, dealing 3 damage
Oh.
and slowing the would-be fleeing criminal.
Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna write this in the chat so I remember. Hedry load. Yeah. Oscar's arrow, of course, yes, just as you described. Almost quicker than you could keep up with. Zips through the fallow field, the weeds, and bites right through Hedry's calf, coming out the front, nicking against his shin bone with a sickening click, and he immediately collapses forward, his hands still bound behind him, howling, screaming into the night, causing the crickets to go silent. What do you do?
I'm gonna drag him back.
Bruce wasn't far behind, grabs him, drags them back over to the now considerably more frightened Foxy. And Hake is simply standing there with his arms crossed and his eyebrows raised. What do you do?
Let me remind you once again that the justice of Tyr is always fair, but the justice of my friends here may not be. Edda's going to take a moment, and you can't quite tell what she's doing. She's actually just standing there with her eyes closed and silently mouthing a prayer to herself. If you didn't know her well, you wouldn't realize that she was trying to commune with Tyr himself, to learn what here might be evil.
So, Bean's trying to activate another paladin move called...
It's my human race ability.
Yeah, when you pray for guidance even for a moment and ask what here is evil, the GM will tell you honestly. Tyr bestows Edda the Fair with the knowledge that Foxy is an evil man. You can see it in his eyes. What do you do?
Keep that knowledge to myself. And,
If someone says, I'm doing something. Hake looks around. Seems that he's done considering the situation. How is it, Judge, that you stand here hemming and hawing over these pig stealers, letting that half-beast of a man over there turn him into pincushions while he's obviously poaching off my lands? Judge, I don't pretend to be no scholar of the law. Maybe you could enlighten me. Hake's standing there, his arms crossed, a little huffy, waiting for some justice.
Eda ignores him. She goes to Hedri, bleeding and crying on the ground.
He's been dragged back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And says, I would have you the chance to speak for yourself, so I'll ask you one more time what you have to say about this supposed pig thievery.
He spits, though not on you. Not on Edda. Keeps his face to the ground because he's essentially laying on his belly, hands tied behind him. He can only really look at you out of the side of his eye. But he doesn't even do that and says, what do it matter? I'm fixing to bleed out here anyway. Just let me die in peace. And it is true. He's bleeding extravagantly and looking paler by the second. What do you do? Hake waddles over to where Oscar and Sigmund have put down the elk carcass. He asks, you must be bringing to carve up in my barn and hope that I'll let you take a share for the trouble, right?
That is nay what I am doing. I was merely traveling through your fields here in the evenings. So I'm heading back to Odstad.
We're both heading back there. We're not interested in staying. But, thanks.
And this elk here, were it traveling through my fields as well? You seem to be apt to shoot at anything traveling through my fields.
It is traveling through your fields, but upon my back only. It does not dwell here, or has it ever? These are fields, these are not forests.
Hake is exasperated. Right now, he's just looking at Etta, back at Oscar the carcass. What do you all do?
I tell
Etta?
you what, Hake.
Hmm.
If you feel so inclined as to think that I have poached this from your land, I will carve up and I will give you a cut of this here elk, if nothing but to satiate your desires. In exchange for letting me take the rest of it, it is mine.
He narrows his eyes. Half.
And the other half will be of my choosing.
Hake nods. Goes back to watching. What do you do?
Etta's made up her mind on how to deal with at least one of these two pig thieves. She approaches Foxy. Sir, you've proven yourself to be not only a thief, but a liar and an evil man. And as a woman of Tyr's justice, I cannot let an evil man live. You have any last words?
You ask Foxy, who you appear to have decided to execute, if he has any last words.
Mm-hmm.
His eyes are narrow and just as evil as they were when Tyr showed you the true nature of this person. You can see the faintest flicker of flames in them, but not from him, it's a reflection. He smiles. Yeah. Hake's barn is burning. And he nods over your shoulder to where you look, and indeed the beginnings of fire and smoke are beginning to lick at the far side of Hake's barn. What do you do?
I cut off Foxy's head.
Well, he's kneeling before you. His hands are tied behind him. So in what way do you do this?
Are you saying that I couldn't just use my sword to swing at his neck and cut his head off?
Sure. I'm just curious what your
Okay.
executioner's methodology is.
Nah, there's no time wasting here.
So you do it almost haphazardly. You're just like cutting down a tree.
I wouldn't say haphazardly.
Just a quick
I am fair.
sideways slice.
I don't want to,
And it's over.
Yep, just quick. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to roll hack and slash?
No, you can just behead him.
All right. Yeah, I behead him.
What do you guys do?
And then
Meanwhile,
then I
Oscar
turn-
bolts towards the farmhouse.
Yeah, I'm sprinting towards the
Or sorry,
farmhouse too.
the barn. Sorry, not the farmhouse. And I'm assuming there are doors on the ends of these, so I will take the one that is not on fire.
This is where the teaser fades out, and you're like, I want to watch the show. But that's it for today.
Ooh.
I don't even get to deal with the...
No, we're gonna start here the next time. You get to deal with your next prisoner next. But you beheaded Foxy. Nice. Alright. So I'll have to take some notes after that, but we've got a little bit more of the session to go. Namely, the end of session move. So let's pull it up. First off, if you rolled a fail, make sure that you did, in fact, go ahead and take your experience point for your fail. You can go see the chat log there.
Just to toss this back to, I was trying to parlay there, Dave, with Hake, as he wanted my deer, and I was like, no, I want to go with all of it.
My bad. You should have just
All good.
yelled at me. Yeah,
No
I should
big
have had
deal.
that
Hake
be a
was like,
roll.
sure, fine.
I should have had that be a roll. But yeah, you made such a good deal. He's got what he wanted, so. Guess we didn't even need to parlay that if he got what he wanted. So the other thing is, yeah, here we go. So we're gonna do the end of session move. This is what you do at the end of each Dungeon World session, in order to distribute experience points. However, Dungeon World's not a system where you can level up just whenever. You actually have to have downtime to level up. So you're purely gaining XP, though you're probably not going to level this time. I don't think there's any possible way mathematically. So the first is you take a look and see if you think that you have any bonds that are completely resolved. And what that means is completely explored, no longer relevant or otherwise. I really doubt this is the case. Does anyone want to try to make that argument, or are we good hanging on to our bonds?
No.
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't
Really?
think so.
Really, I'm enjoying this drawing of Edda chopping off a dude.
Yes, it's always such a joy to play tabletop with people who are good at drawing, because they just sit there and doodle during it. I used to play this dude Will that was the same way. So I appreciate it, Luce. Adds a little dimension. So no bonds. Now, Edda, what is your alignment requirement?
That I deny mercy to a criminal or unbeliever.
Did you do that this
I would-
session?
I would say I denied mercy to the man who I beheaded. Yeah.
You beheaded a dude who allegedly was stealing a pig.
And who was known to be evil and a liar.
Just evil. You don't know if he was kidnapped or not. Why is the barn on fire? But you did show no mercy. That's definitely true. So you mark XP. Bruce, what is your alignment requirement?
Defeat a worthy opponent.
Did you do that?
I dragged a man, so no.
Alright. Sigmund, what's your alignment requirement?
To avoid a conflict or defeat. Now, I tried to do that, but I couldn't think of the move. I didn't get involved, but I didn't defuse it.
So you avoided it.
You did. I would definitely give you credit for diffuse there, because you were role playing out, trying to counsel through the situation. So I'd mark a XP there.
No thanks.
What about Oscar's alignment requirement?
Help an animal or spirit of the wild.
Did you do that?
We're in civilized land, so no.
Actually killed an elk.
Well, he helped it. It's part of the natural cycle.
It was already dead by the time the session started.
Yeah. Now, we're going to go through the questions now that we've looked at alignment. Did we learn something new and important about the world during this session?
Hake's barn is on fire.
I guess we kind of learned about the world in general, so I think that's all new. We learned there's a couple of cities.
What we
Or
learned?
villages.
We learned about
There's
the
a-
treacherous and orc-infested Volcar forest.
Mm-hmm.
We learned about Skavgard, a shack that Oscar lives in at the edge of the wood near the Lotta River. We learned about Oddstad, the village where 3 members of the party are from. We learned about a word that I can't pronounce. What is it again? I can pronounce it. You say it.
Ugathwaite.
Sigmund's from there. And it is a keep in the dangerous Volker forest where traditionally mysterious, ancient mystic histories, knowledge is stored and protected by traditional warriors. Sigmund hails from there, though he has ran away and come under Oscar's wing when he arrived at Skavgard, the worse for wear. We've learned a good amount. So everyone gets to mark an experience point there. Did we overcome a notable monster or enemy? I would say no. Anyone want to argue?
No, we did not.
Last question. Did we loot a memorable treasure? I would say no.
That elk is very valuable to me, though.
The elk has an ancient mystic blade in its stomach, actually.
What do you know?
You're sawing through it. Clang. What's this? No, I don't think so on that one. But let that shape how you play. So during each session, what are you trying to do? You're trying to fulfill your alignment once. You'd like to resolve a bond if you could. You want to fail the dice if you can.
Yeah, we gotta roll as many dice as possible.
Yeah, roll a lot so you can fail.
Like I had 2 lines.
You want to try to learn stuff about the world at large, important stuff. You want to find notable monsters and enemies to overcome, and you want to find memorable treasure to loot, because those are all ways you're gonna get XP. I agree, Guru. I love playing with Lewis because he always doodles. But that end of session move is gonna wrap it up. So appreciate y'all chilling and playing, man. I'm gonna go dark on the Discord and then wrap up the stream. But if you guys hang out, it won't take me too long to wrap up the stream. I'll be right back and we can schedule the next sessions at work. But you guys can go ahead and figure it out now without me. Anyway, talk about the next time you can play. I'll be back with you in a bit. That's gonna do it, man. So that was episode 0 of my Viking-themed Dungeon World campaign, the Saga of Broken Blades. Episode 0 is creating the characters, and then, as per Dungeon World rules, playing just a little bit at the end. Our next session will obviously be a full session, and it'll be a little bit different because it's not the first session, so there'll be some stuff that has happened on the Dungeon Master end that makes things even more entertaining. But that'll do it for today's O Show. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Really appreciate that generous tip from the illustrious Poodle. Nice to see you. Happy New Year. And you are currently the winner of January. I don't think anyone's gonna top $20 in January, so you're gonna enjoy seeing your name a lot. In fact, let me do something real quick. Is it lined up perfectly? Whoa! This is about to melt your brain right now. I hope you're ready for this. This is literally gonna melt your brain. I hope you're looking at the screen right now, because you're seriously gonna... How melted is your brain right now? I hope it's very melted. It's got to be perfectly aligned. If it's not perfectly aligned, then I get punished. Okay, I think it is actually perfectly aligned. Okay, mind melting complete. That was some stream session. Alright, it's lined up. Yeah, very generous Poodle. Thank you very much, man. Very kind. Always kind. We'll be doing this every week or two. The Dungeon World campaign. Yeah. Now I do want to tend to just a little bit of Osho business here. We'll have another Osho tomorrow. Don't worry about that. I would like to thank these illustrious members of the 420 Club. Speaking of financial support, I'd like to thank Kit Woo, Concap, Freeborn Pat, Beanchan99, Sabatum, Ninth Gate, Vodka, Itchy Snail, Smarms, Dennis Kulik, Lego Hog, and Gatsby. Big ups to y'all. Really do appreciate the support. Tomorrow's Osho should be, I didn't do yesterday because I was recovering from working out. I gotta have one recovery day. So we'll do Osho tomorrow. It'll be Divinity. Looking forward to that. And it'll probably be 2 divinities. So it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Divinity. Then we'll switch it up on Wednesday. Appreciate y'all chilling, man. See you soon.